Hey everyone, Mr. DVB here. So today I'm going to be reviewing Bad Times at the El Royale, which is directed by Drew Goddard and stars a cast of a ton of huge actors. So I first saw the trailer for this movie and I saw The Predator about a month ago, and I thought this movie looked super interesting. I love, these mystery thriller type movies. I love the 70s setting. Like I said, there's a lot of great actors in this movie, so I thought this looked super interesting. It reminded me a lot of Hateful Eight, which is a really good movie directed by Quentin Tarantino. So just the vibes this film was giving me were ones that I really liked. So I saw this movie and I thought it was great. Now this isn't a perfect movie. I do have problems with it, and I'll get into those in a second. But I'll kind of explain the story first without giving too much away. Basically, you have this motel called the El Royale, which is actually on two different states. You have California side and you have the Nevada side. And there's these different strangers who come to this place to spend, a night. Each of them have their own unique backstories. Some of them dark, some of them, just simple and plain whatever. But I really like the way these characters are discovering what's going on in this motel and stuff, and just the whole setup for this movie was so perfectly done because you have these great characters portrayed by really good actors and this really great mystery suspense feel to it that even came off as kind of eerie sometimes. This movie does have kind of a creepy vibe to it in the first 2 acts or so, and I just love the way the movie was pieced together. It has fantastic cinematography, and like I said, I think everything about this movie in the first 2 acts is fantastic. The third act, though, kind of went in a different direction compared to everything else, and I don't think that was necessarily the best choice, but I'll get onto that later. First off, I'll just talk about the performances. So Jeff Bridges plays Father Daniel Flynn, and he personally had the most interesting storyline in my opinion. I thought he had just a really, really interesting character, and I loved his backstory. This movie is kind of done through flashbacks and that kind of stuff, so you find out about these characters' backstories at different times, and I just really like the way it was pieced together. If you've seen Inglourious Basterds or Hateful Eight, it's just like that, basically. You even have the title cards that say Room 6 or Room 5 or whatever, so it's very similar to those movies in that sense. Cynthia Erivo, who I've never seen in the movie before or even heard of, was fantastic as Darlene Sweet. She's basically this singer who has kind of a little bit of bad stuff in her past, and her singing was fantastic, and her performance was amazing, so she was great in this movie. John Hamm was also fantastic. Chris Hemsworth was great in this movie. I love the way they made his character. He had a really cool performance in this, and I really liked the way he was. The biggest issue I have, though, is really Dakota Johnson and her sister character's storyline. Their storyline was the least interesting in my opinion, and it almost kind of it really ties into the third act, and I think that's kind of what kind of brought it down for me, just because their storyline I just found kind of the least interesting, and because of that I found their characters the least interesting. But everybody else in this movie, all the other storylines, I loved, especially Jeff Bridges. He was my favorite character in this movie, and his storyline was, in my personal opinion, the best there was. So, yeah, loved everything about that. I thought the tone, like I said, in this movie was fantastic. There's just some really awesome, eerie mystery moments here. I think the first act is the best because you're being introduced to all these characters, and there's all these really creepy and interesting things going on, and I love that. This isn't a horror movie, though. It might sound like that from what I'm saying. It's not. It's more of a mystery thriller. Don't go into this movie expecting like an action movie. There is some, moments, but it's not an action film at all. This is much more of a mystery film, like I said. And I love mystery movies, so I was really intrigued with what was going on. Like I said, though, I just don't 100% love the way the third act went. Just the direction it took, I don't really like as much as the rest of the movie. That being said, I'm going to give this movie an 8.5 out of 10. It actually, like, the first 2 acts, in my opinion, were pretty close to, like, a 9.5. Like, it could have reached that rating. Sadly, like I said, just the third act did bring it down a bit because just the direction it went, I wasn't a huge fan of. But, yeah, great movie all around. I highly recommend you see it if you're into those kind of films. Otherwise, yeah, just a great movie all around. So I'll see you guys next Thursday while I'll be reviewing Halloween. I am super excited for that. I'll also be reviewing First Man eventually. I'm seeing that movie on my birthday in IMAX, so that's why I haven't seen that yet or anything. But yeah, so those are the 2 reviews that'll be coming out next, so I'll see you guys all then.